I understand.
Okay,
but
so that is.
I think it's
if you value mountain climbing, these things have to Europeans didn't come to.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of the most famous science communicators in the world. But his authority isn't just built on astrophysics, it's built on frame dominance. In this video, we'll analyze how Tyson steamrolls Joe Rogan, why dominant educators use these power moves, and how Rogan subtly fought back. Number 1 is domineering control, including interrupting to take over the conversation.
But it doesn't look like Earth.
There's a lot of people that go on
also, we think there's a lot of water.
See, not only he interrupts, but he uses the interruption to launch in his own explanation. That's how he keeps maintaining and reasserting his teacher frame.
That's what expansion means. What kind of what's with your vocabulary here, right?
No, but I'm saying like
that's what's with your vocabulary here. It's also a bit of a power move. He frames himself as having a better vocabulary, and vocabulary is often associated with IQ. And to be a good teacher, having a high IQ usually gives you an advantage. So you want to be careful when people use frames that makes you sound as less intelligent than them.
No, right. So your ice cube is sitting 10%. Your ice cube is sitting 10%.
Again, he interrupts and jumps into his explanation. This happens so often during the podcast that at a certain point it almost becomes a meme. Look at this.
Water is water. It's a water molecule.
That's the thing about.
By the way, every glass. Do you see this?
By the way, hey, wait. I still need to explain something to you. But crucially, and this is very telling, notice what happens when Joe Rogan interrupts him.
What would you say? No.
Yeah, but are those comparable? I mean, these are
wait, hold on. We want to repel.
This is very telling because it's about reciprocity and it tells you about character. Some people tend to be more lively, more extroverted, and more dominant in general. However, when you interrupt them, they allow you to. So that signals that it's more about their way of approaching others, but it's a two-way street. Instead, when they interrupt you, when they are overly dominant towards you, but they do not accept it back, that is a different signal and it can be more of a red flag. It says that they think they have the right to interrupt you, but you don't have the right to interrupt them. What type of frame is that? They are higher status, they are more than you are lower status, you are less than them. When you see that, that's when you want to draw the line. Signal number 2 you want to look out for is teacher power moves. Let's look at an example.
You know how that happens, by the way? You have all these multiple volcanoes in a string. You ever wonder why? How that happens?
Sure.
You did wonder? Or you know?
Why?
Oh, because...
This is amazing. So see, these are rhetorical questions. Like, do you really want to know? Do you want to know? It's interesting. I also notice how he says it. It's as if to frame it as something that you want to know because it's so interesting. When Joe Rogan confirms yes, then he confirms the frame that he's a willing pupil. So that also justifies him explaining. It frames him as the teacher, but you as the willing pupil. So it's not anymore forcing on you information, but you become the pupil who is willing to learn. These are also leading questions because the natural response is to say yes, but they're still dominant. They are not dominant in the sense of domineering. However, they still nudge you towards the yes. So you want to be careful not to say yes just because it's a leading question. Truly ask yourself, is it important for me to know this? Do I really want to know this? And do I really want to know this from this person? Because maybe you want to know, but not from them because you don't want to be disempowered as their pupil, right? Tyson also has a theatrical way of teaching, which in part explains his success. He's good at teaching. He makes things sound interesting and he's good at delivering it. Let's see an example here and let's see what happens when Joe Rogan derails the teacher approach.
Genghis Khan. Joan of Arc. Socrates.
Plato.
No.
Jesus? Can I get a bottle of Jesus?
I'm trying to get my Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure list going here, okay?
Did you notice what happened here? Tyson was delivering his teaching lesson as if he were an actor in a play. But the moment that Joe Rogan started also intervening, he framed it more as a humorous. interplay between two actors. However, Tyson probably wanted to be the main teacher actor. So what did he do? He called out Joe Rogan for derailing him. This was less domineering because he didn't raise his voice, he didn't interrupt him, he wasn't aggressive, but it was far more effective. It was more socially skilled, it was more polished because he still called out Joe Rogan. He launched back into his explanation. He went back into the teacher role, but without losing social capital. So he came across as more likable. So he's more likely to be invited once again by Joe Rogan in the future, and he's more likely to be liked by the audience, meaning likely more book sales and more people listening to him. Also, notice the frame control to remain the teacher.
Of South Dakota's Lake Andes National Wildlife Refuge. That's incredible, man. Is that a video, Jamie?
I think it's just a picture, though.
I
God,
don't know how they
amazing.
froze because they can just swim to where it's not frozen. So I'd have to do more homework on that one to see what caused that.
Wow.
So my point is, because of
Did you notice what happened here now? Joe Rogan wanted to do his usual thing, like, oh wow, that's amazing, let's look at it, let's marvel about it. If he does that, think about what happens. The main attention grabber becomes the video, so Tyson will lose power in this case, he will lose influence, he will lose the stage. So instead, he plows through Rogan's curiosity to go back to teaching. In general, for good social skills and good relationships, I recommend you don't try to force the teaching. I can understand it. Many people like being teacher. It's a high prestige role. You are the highest authority. You are the highest status often. And it's also a giver role because you are giving knowledge. However, to be a truly good, value-giving teacher role, you must ensure that people want to learn from you. Otherwise, you're just pushing knowledge and often annoying people. It can still work in our digital age if you want to go for an influencer or guru type of teacher. However, in real life, generally, I recommend to avoid it. Number 3, prevent others from even making a valid argument.
I get your perspective. Let me be...
I get your perspective. This is a negotiative approach. It's win-win. However, to work, you must ensure that the other person also does the same. Does the other person also listens to you? Does the other person also truly considers your opinion? As we've seen, this wasn't always the case here.
I get your perspective. Let me be the opposing view. They feel...
No, I'm not trying to...
No, I know you're not.
This is just information.
Okay.
This is information, and I walk out of the...
Joe Rogan had a good, valid point, but he doesn't even let him express it. He just wants to assure that his point of view is the only one being aired. And once again, he also uses frame dominance to do this.
Tesla,
days.
everyone is thinking he's got the solution to the future transmission of energy. No, he doesn't.
Well, I don't think anyone's saying that, but what
He
they are
did,
saying
and
is-
his fans do.
But back then, there were no computers. Back then,
Correct.
there were no televisions.
But we did have machines. It was the era of...
First, notice the dominance. No. Complete refusal and rejection of Joe Rogan's frame. But now, notice the tonality. It was the era of machines. It's as if to say, you dumbass, you must understand this and you don't, so listen to me. It's also a very high conviction tone, and many people tend to trust more the person who sounds more convinced. Now, how does Joe Rogan handle this? He's not a stupid guy, he can also be dominant, but he goes for a more subtle approach. Let's see.
I think the real problem, too, is I think it's
If you
incredibly
value
visi-
mountain climbing...
See, this is a subtle signal that he's pissed off. However, he's not doing it verbally. Some people may also call it passive-aggressive, because you are showing the signs that you don't appreciate, however, you don't speak assertively. Passive aggression has a bad rap. People always say you must avoid it. However, in some cases, it can be useful. In this case, personally, I would have preferred a more assertive approach. However, Joe Rogan also speaks up sometimes. Let's see.
You don't stop the climbers, you tax them at some level so that now you have cleanup crews that come up after them.
Yeah, but it's
There's
incredibly
solutions. But there's
you know
solutions.
it's incredibly
No, look,
difficult to bring
dude.
anything back.
Good. So?
You can already see the very different approach, right? Joe Rogan remains calm and leveled, while he gets more passionate and louder.
You're
You
almost,
tax them, you make it worth it. All right.
right. But
So-
you understand, like they
here's what I'm
have
saying.
to leave the bodies up there, right? You know that they can't.
That's
bring
what I
them
heard.
back.
That's what I
Yes.
heard.
In the end, at least this time, Joe Rogan can make this point. And this is a valid approach. They get more emotional, they get louder. You remain calm, but you don't give up. They finish a sentence and you repeat it once again. Calmly, but you don't relinquish your frame. And in this case, Joe Rogan also upped his dominance a little bit.
No, we don't know what it is. So don't worry about it if you don't understand it.
Yeah, but it's too goddamn confusing for me.
No, it's not confusing at all. It's not. It's something out there that has 85% of the gravity of the universe, and we don't know what the hell it is.
That's not confusing?
It's not confusing. It's
If you don't know what the hell it is, it's confusing by nature.
Okay, I have more nuanced definition of confusing.
Good. He stuck to his frame that it was confusing, and notice the difference. This time, Tyson does not steamroll. Instead, he is forced to reframe what he means by confusing. That is a win for Joe Rogan, or at least it's not a loss, because if he had relinquished, okay, it is confusing, then you come across as too submissive, low power, not smart enough to even talk with him, and he becomes so much more than you. And you generally don't want that, because you lose status, you lose respect, you lose attraction, and, you know, what kind of a man are you if you're always relinquishing even when you're right? In this part, Joe Rogan even scored a major intellectual point. Let's see.
By the way, in the really distant future, you can just redirect a comet and get all the water you need. But
how far distant is that?
The comet's everywhere, dude. We're in a shooting gallery.
Yeah.
See the way he did it? It's everywhere, dude. It signals there was such a stupid question, and the answer is so simple that, you know, it's beneath me. You shouldn't even ask that. They are everywhere, dude. When you see those signs, you must take it as your signal that you must gain more respect with a certain person.
Comets everywhere, dude. We're in a shooting gallery.
Yeah, that's not what I asked.
Oh,
how far away do you think it is before we could redirect?
How far away in time?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. Once again, he remained calm, didn't take it personally, but he stuck to his question. And also very good. When he said, but that's not what I asked, there was also an intellectual marker he put in there. You misunderstood me. You were not at my level this time. And Tyson then was forced to reconsider the question and give a proper answer. Good job.
Far away in time.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
And that is the sign that it hit the mark. The love signals, okay, you got me, I was wrong. It is power giving and positively submissive, because indeed he was in the wrong, so it was on him to own up and give power back to Joe Rogan. This analysis may sound critical. However, please understand, deGrasse is a legit scientist, and the scientific camp benefits from a guy like him, especially in this day and age. deGrasse stands for good data, science, good logic, and he also stands for good values like democracy and freedom. I like what he stands for. I'm glad he's out there. This video was more to highlight certain tactics that may be used by people who don't have nearly enough the authority and knowledge. And this is because humans naturally tend to confuse conversational dominance and conviction with expertise and truth. So take these signals not as the evidence that somebody is necessarily low authority, but as your signals to dig deeper. And if you thought this was bad, these videos here show you how real bad gurus look like. Check them out and I'll see you there. Ciao.